So I don't know how to really feel about this. I feel both excited, conflicted, confirmed, and frustrated, ultimately, as I've been trying to order or pre-order a PS5, and sadly that just has not come to pass yet. Now, obviously there's plenty of time between now and release. Obviously there's plenty of time between Final Fantasy XVI's release on PS5 and the rest of the world. Obviously, it's also coming to PC. Ultimately, this video and this question, which can't really be confirmed yet, as I really have never heard of IB Times, the International Business Times, but they say Square Enix confirms Final Fantasy XVI exclusive for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. And this might just be a topic-grabbing headline, because as I peruse the article, as I've read this whole article a handful of times, I cannot say for sure what their source is, where Final Fantasy or Square Enix confirms that it's coming to PS4, and having looked around and digged elsewhere on the internet, I have yet to see that. But it still brings up the topic. It still is a merit of discussion. So this isn't really running as a news post. This is going to be more of an opinion coffee chat video. So what's up, Soul Nation? Thanks for hanging out with me through that intro. Square Enix confirms Final Fantasy XVI for PS5 and PS4. Ultimately, over the last several months, especially as we've been building and playing this game of chicken between Xbox and PlayStation. And by the way, if you like Xbox or you like PlayStation over any other particular console, I support you, and that's fine. However, I could care less. Like, at the end of the day, I like having consoles, I like having PC games, and I want to play my games where my friends are. That's my litmus test within any dog, cat, pony show when it comes down to these console races. But at the end of the day, I'm thrilled, and I think it's okay to be excited for Final Fantasy XVI. In fact, that's actually one of the videos that I wanted to sit down and make for you guys. Probably not today, but it's probably going to end up going next week. Why it's okay to be excited about Final Fantasy XVI. There's a lot to break down in the trailer. There's a lot that we have to look forward to in the future. So hopefully you come back and check out that video when it goes live next week. Beyond that, though, the constant debate especially with Series X, with games that are cross-generation, holding back games themselves. First and foremost, when they announced 16 as a PS5 console exclusive, I think that has me personally excited, because I think from a system operational specifications, hard drive, processor, like native 4K, I think that gives the developers hopefully more room to really flex their muscles. And when it comes down to the Business Division 3 and the team that yoshi-p is working on, as a preview for next week's video, Final Fantasy XVI is the first real game that benefits from yoshi-p's leadership, as well as it's the first real Final Fantasy game that will be the true testament to the changes he's brought within Square Enix. What I mean by this is that when he took over 14, 15 was already in that 10-year development cycle hell, and while 15 really was only developed within 3 years, you're talking about a development hell that has plagued Final Fantasy and Square Enix for years. Looking at 7R, we're looking at 15, we're even looking at Kingdom Hearts. There is essentially kind of a process over there that is broken. Now, yoshi-p comes in, he saves 14, he's a part of this board. Obviously, I think that you can't start something at the ground up, until now. And so for the longest time, I have stated 16 is a core aspect, it's a core feature, it's a core testament and test of yoshi-p and his leadership. So ultimately, I'm always going to be rooting for that. So that's kind of a preview for next week. I'll dive more into those thoughts, present a little bit more history for you guys as well, and then give a little bit more of my perspective from a developer to, my perspective as a developer in this case. So anyway, if Final Fantasy XVI comes to PS4, as this article alludes to, again, rumor and speculation at this point, not necessarily am I trusting the source, because they don't quote anything in the article itself. So I do take issue with that personally. So if it does come to PlayStation 4, there's 100 million PlayStation 4s out there. I got one sitting right next to me. That's cool. Is it holding back 16? That's the debate. That's the thing that I've seen PlayStation fans, leverage against the Xbox. Their cross-generational stuff is holding games back. And then it seems like there's more cross-generational stuff with Sony as it relates to Miles, as it relates to all of this. And honestly, at the end of the day, and not defending Microsoft. Everybody could make mistakes and things like this, but at the end of the day, it feels like Microsoft has at least been more forthcoming with us and has gotten hit for their truthfulness, where Sony has been playing coy, and it turns out more of these games that are PlayStation 5 exclusive happen to also be cross-generational, because money is still important in 2020 and beyond. What a shocker. I honestly hope this is a fake article. I honestly hope Final Fantasy XVI does not come to PlayStation 4. I hope it's, they announced it, PlayStation 5 exclusive. Oh yeah, and by the way, PC. It's coming to PC. And I've even seen them, I've seen some articles actually retract that they've taken off that coming to PC off of PlayStation and Sony branding, which I think makes sense, because I think when you're trying to brand and you're trying to market, you don't want to be marketing another platform, because I think people look at that and they're like, wait a minute, which is a natural and okay thing to think. And so I think for the fact that it is coming to PC is great, because if it's coming to PC with specifications that are matching the PlayStation 5 and maybe even eventually the Series X, which I still am hopeful that like after a year on PlayStation 5, you see it drop into Game Pass. I would not be surprised with that, considering Microsoft has been pulling in a ton of the Final Fantasy franchises into Game Pass over the period of this year. Still waiting for 14, still waiting. Anyway, that's on Microsoft to get their act together and make sure that they have a presence in Japan and they don't just hand exclusives to Sony. But I could care less about this console war. Honestly, it feels like the most, especially with today's, whatever the hell this is, it feels less and less relevant. And the fact that I was trying to pre-order, and this whole pre-order debacle with PlayStation 5 is a little frustrating. I've been trying to pre-order every time I have friends texting me like, all right, 30 minutes at Walmart. And I even had one in my cart yesterday, and the thing all crapped out, and I wasn't able to get one. I would like personally to be able to have a PS5. I would like to have a Xbox Series X. I like technology. I'm excited about it. However, I'm really frustrated ultimately with the way that PlayStation 5 has been handling this. And honestly, and actually to be fair, to retract that a little bit, I don't know how much Sony has in the vein of it. It seems like maybe realtors have broken. There's been maybe miscommunication. Honestly, it's the pandemic, so I think I should afford them some form of grace in terms of like, yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully, if you're on the hunt for that, you can get one. I really cannot wait to learn more about Final Fantasy XVI. The article goes on to allude that maybe the target release date is 2021, and that would be epic. This project started back in 2016. It's been in development for 4 years. 2021 would give it that like 5-year development cycle, which I think is really important, especially for games like Final Fantasy. But as long as it's not broken up like Final Fantasy VII are into chapters, as long as it's not like within this 10-year development hell like these other games. And if it comes to PlayStation 4, honestly, that's fantastic. I think for the player, when we think player focused. However, I still would love that pure next generation spec. That's my piece. That's what I'm going to leave it at. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Again, this is just some thoughts that popped up as a part of my feed today, and I wanted to sit down and kind of talk about it because, oh God, like it is this weird thing. And so honestly, I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd love to explore why this should come to PlayStation. I'd love to explore why this should definitely not come to PlayStation 4. I think that's really important. If you have a strong opinion one way or the other, please sound off in the comments below. If you feel like this is an interesting topic, let me know as well, and share this out with others. That is the best way to get, I guess, more engagement in terms of like more, I want a lot of opinion here. I want a lot of opinion from people of different backgrounds. Like, let me know, like, if you're like Xbox, if you're PlayStation, if you're PC Master Race, like, just give me as much information so I can see here if I can try to quantify this emotion that I'm feeling, that I'm having for a audio medium here, having a hard time actually putting into words. It's a sense of frustration, excitement, and with a kind of like a hint of disappointment if it does come to PlayStation 4 based off of what we just saw yesterday. Anyway, cell phones being at me, so that means it's time to head up and wrap up this video. Guys, thanks so much for watching, for listening. Let me know what you think. I love you, I love your faces, and I'll see you next week. Take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.